Uh, It'll be one of the two Roosevelts, Teddy Roosevelt or Franklin Delano Roosevelt. It would certainly be Franklin Delano Roosevelt. That man, I just recently read a biography on FDR, and he wasn't, Teddy Roosevelt was a force of nature. He was his whole life. Just who he was from birth was an amazing human being. Rose towered above all others around him, but FDR was not like that. But, you know, FDR single-handedly, and I do mean literally single-handedly by the force of his personality, got us out of the Depression. When the Depression struck in 1929, he pulled us out in 1932 when he became president, 33 when he took over. And then he pulled us out of that, and you know, it wasn't perfect, but he did an incredible job. Well, the structures he put in place are still the main safeguards of prosperity that we use today. Social Security, great Social Security, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, that saves, you know, guarantees that if you put money in the bank, you're going to get it back. He saved the banks then and now, just over and over. Tennessee Valley Authority. You got to remember, in 1933, a lot of Americans didn't have electricity. He brought electricity to so many, put so many to work. It was amazing what he did to pull us out of the man got reelected 4 times, and deservedly so. Overwhelmingly reelected 4 times. And then he got us through World War II. He died before it was over, but he had gotten us through it. The man, he should be on Mount Rushmore. Teddy is, of course, and deservedly so. He was a force of nature. But what made FDR incredible wasn't that he was so smart, and obviously he was, but he recognized talent, and he brought in these powerful, smart people. He was a Democrat, but he brought in Republicans. He brought in people from all parties. He was open. And he brought them in and he put them in charge. And once they were in charge, they were in charge. He didn't micromanage. He said, you're good at this, you do this. He chose all the right military leaders. I mean, he could have chosen anyone to oversee D-Day, but he chose Eisenhower. And Eisenhower was not an obvious choice. In retrospect, he was the perfect choice, but he was not the obvious choice at all. He was, when he found a good man, whatever the good man believed, as long as he lined up with his ultimate goal, he put him in charge and let him go. And that is such a talent and skill. And then those men were loyal to him. He earned their loyalty, and they were loyal to him and did as ultimately as he wanted. But that was a skill, and his heart for people. That's what made all the difference. He wasn't in there to serve the corporations. He wasn't in there to serve ideals. He spent a lot of time out in America, and he contracted polio as an adult, and was crippled. Couldn't walk all of his life. And I think that being a person who had lost control over so much of his life, he couldn't stand up and walk around on his own. His son would walk him to a podium when he gave his speech. You can see it in some, I don't know if you can see him or not. But he would stand and cling. He would cling to the podium, because if he stepped away from it, he's on the ground. He overcame so much. But I think that neediness and just his natural inclination to care about people, everything he did was for the little American. And it paid off for the little Americans. And the little Americans answered by re-electing him 4 times. So, yeah, FDR is a stunning human being. That if I worked really hard, someday I could be worthy to shine his boots. He's just really an amazing guy. He should be, if there were room, he should be on Mount Rushmore. Probably the most important and long-lasting thing he did was create Social Security. There was no safety net in America before then, but he cared so much about the average American that he created Social Security, and where would you and I be without it? The corporations, since that time, he fought back the corporations and made Americans, just average Joe Americans, the core of all he did. But since then, the corporations have taken back over, and now America is oriented towards corporations and not towards the average American. And if he hadn't done that, put that in place, the corporations would have eaten all of us alive. So it's really a good thing that he created Social Security. Yes, there are probably ways it could have been done better now in retrospect, 70, 90 years later. Now, 100 years later, we can look back and say, well, it would have been better if you'd done this, but hindsight's easy, isn't it? It's still serving you and I very, very well and is a vital thing. He started paying farmers. The farmers were all going to go broke. They weren't going to make it. We went right into the Dust Bowl, remember? And so he created the system by which the government helped farmers to farm better with knowledge and science and with loans, and paying them not to grow crops, because as weird and bizarre as that is, it just has to be done to keep an equilibrium in the agriculture cycle. Sometimes they just can't grow, but they can't survive if they don't grow. So it was incredible, the long-ranging vision that FDR had, and we depend on today just as much as we did then.